Hello and welcome to One Tech World. My name is Vanessa Vallely. I'm delighted that you're joining us for this panel, which explores the journeys of early career professionals. These ladies will be sharing their experiences, their challenges, and their strategies for success during the first few years of their careers. During this session, we will learn how they've navigated roles, built strong networks, and seized growth opportunities in today's competitive job market. I am delighted to welcome to our stage Cinny, Krusha, and Saiba, who are all from Accenture. Welcome.
Hello, Vanessa.
Lovely to have you with us. So let's go straight in. So can you share a little bit about your journey so far and perhaps some of the key decisions or moments that shape the direction of your career? And I'm going to start with Saiba.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Saiba Ali. I'm a management consultant at Accenture and I'm aligned with their supply chain and operations practice, where I've been working on digital transformation and change advisory projects for the last 18 months. I'd say a key decision that started my career was definitely the choice to do a placement year at university. So I was the first person in my immediate family to actually go to university, which was a big step in itself. But then I realised whilst I was there that I had no real world experience of like what it is to be in a corporate environment. So undertaking a placement year, which I did at Bosch as a personal assistant was really, really valuable. And I think when I returned to university then for my final year, it made the transition into a graduate role and finding a role that way a lot easier. So you felt like the pressure, although there was pressure to secure that graduate role, you had much more, experience and exposure to what a real life job was. So you could talk about it a lot easier. So yeah, I'd say that was definitely one of the big changes in my career. I also did actually change careers. So although after I graduated, I didn't come straight to Accenture, I went to Grant Thornton and started an audit graduate scheme there, which I quickly realised wasn't the right fit. So I think another big decision was leaving that and then coming into tech and going consulting instead. So yeah, two big career moments.
But also, it's really important that you know what you don't want to do, right?
Yeah,
As well as what you do want to do. Fantastic. Cinny, same question to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Tsado and I am a software engineering degree apprentice at Accenture and I'm in my second year. So my career has started off mainly doing like automotive stuff using Power Automate and Power Apps. But currently I am in the full stack development space working as an apprentice using things like Node and Next.js. And I think like Sabre, for me, I've always wanted to learn and do at the same time. So that's why I wanted to pursue a degree apprenticeship. And that decision, I think, was pivotal in why I'm here today, really, because I believe that if I can learn and do at the same time, that it would basically make my experience that much more valuable. And to be honest, if you told me a couple of years ago that I'd be working in technology, I would not have believed you because I wanted to go into the medical field and had my heart set on it. So it was a complete 180. I'd never done computer science, had never coded before. And I was walking into the world of the complete unknown. But for me, that unfamiliar territory has made me be very comfortable with like being not knowing what I'm doing or like slash why I'm here. Because it's led me to realize that growth happens when you're not quite familiar with what you're doing because you're able to learn from those experiences. And for me, like a defining moment I can talk about in Accenture was I had to build an automated email passing solution, which basically updated things on the back end and was dealing with things on the front end. And very scared about it because I'd never done anything like it before. But that basically taught me that you don't need to have all the answers to solve real problems. And again, I'm in this full stack development pathway and I don't know what I'm doing half the time. Like I come to work and they're talking about all these things and I'm like, ah, but again, it's like that familiarity doesn't allow you to grow as much. And I feel like embracing ambiguity is something that I'm learning to do every day because that's why I'm here today. So yeah, that's a bit
Love
about me.
that. I love that. And you'll find that eventually you'll get to a point where you start talking the same language as what they're talking. You'll be like, oh my God, look how much I know. So one day it just clicks. Krusha, same question to you.
So, hi, I'm Krusha Vekaria. And yeah, a bit similar to Cinny, I also don't know what I do half the time at work, which is always a great sign. But so I, unlike Saiba and Cinny, I joined the tech side of Accenture as a graduate analyst. So just over 2 years now. And my day job, I like to say, is software engineer, front-end developing for the public sector. But outside of that, I do a lot of side of desk stuff that keeps me going and gets me off of my laptop at times because yeah, I don't like to be coding every single day.
Absolutely not. So,
Funnily enough, oh no, sorry, yeah,
no,
go ahead.
go on.
No, I was gonna just say, funnily enough, for the longest time, I did also think I was gonna be a dentist. So that was a big realization I had during A levels, where I realized the subjects I'm studying are not quite matching up to dentistry. So there wasn't quite a similarity there. And then I just sat back and I was like, wait a second, what is it that I like doing? And then I kind of went down this sort of route.
I see a side hustle here. We've got the wannabe doctor over there, and then we've got the dentist. We have to work out how we make this work. I'm going to stay with you, Krusha, because I want to talk about challenges. I mean, obviously, we all have challenges at work, but did you face any particular challenges in the first few years of your career, and how did you navigate those?
So I'd say the biggest challenges I faced was surrounded around the term imposter syndrome, in terms of like when you go into a corporate environment, especially when you've just finished off uni, it's very different. And
Yeah.
as a developer, developing for myself and for uni projects, and then developing in a corporate setting, there's a lot of relearning you have to do, and a lot of shifting as well. So when you start off as a junior, you do feel, well, I felt a lot of the times that I was like, oh, maybe I can't say anything, or like my opinions won't be valued, even though that wasn't the case, and that was just my brain telling me to do that. So what I found helped a lot of the times was just talking to my network of people, which is like my family, my friends, and even people within Accenture, so my peers, like my manager. And a lot of what helped was them also just reassuring, being like, we want to hear what you say. And I feel like Accenture was such a good place for that, because they really provided that support at the start. So you can really feel like, you know what, it's fine. Everyone makes mistakes. And even if you're a junior and they're seniors, it doesn't, like, the hierarchy shouldn't matter that much. So I feel like I am still feeling that. And that's something that does come, as Vanessa did say, in moments, and rather than a syndrome. So it's not something that'll just completely go away, but it's also not something that you let kind of overcome you as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Saiba, I want to come back to you. You know, it's very competitive, the job market out there. What strategies did you use to secure your first role?
So I think overall being organised and more of like a self-starter person in general is helpful and quite crucial when seeking a role, because there's no one hand-holding you through that process. I use different strategies for each role. So as I kind of alluded to previously, my first graduate role was actually for Grant Thornton. And at that moment, I felt a lot of pressure to just secure a job fast rather than whether it's the job that I wanted or not. It was just a case of, is it a good company, as in, is it a big name? And therefore I just thought, oh, that means I'll automatically fit in and do well. So at the time when I was applying for those sorts of roles, it was just getting through as many job applications as possible and not really thinking about whether I'd be a good fit or something that I could see myself doing long term. When I knew I wanted to leave Grant Thornton, this is when my strategy for job applications really changed. And I think I took the time then to reflect on what my skill set was and then marry that with where my passion lied. So I think my skill set is very much problem solving. And then I'm passionate about helping workforces sort of operate efficiently, but then also, you know, be culturally right for the people. So that they can be as best as they can be. And I think a book that really helped me realize that was Be So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport.
Okay.
I really like that book. Yeah, and it kind of focuses on the notion of you can control what you do with your life. So then why not try and pursue what you love? Like, don't just be dragged into different rooms with different people just because you think that's what's right. It's like, no, follow what you love and you'll always end up in the right room. So once I discovered this, I took a more strategic approach and ensured that the company was a right fit for me first, and that the job was something that I wanted to grow in long term and that I had the skills and passion for, rather than it just feeling like that's what everyone else is doing. And I think after that, it was a lot more natural then to start with the job application process once those two things were secure, because you naturally know that you're going to be good at that job and you naturally know that you're going to fit into that company, so you can talk about it a lot easier.
Yeah, I find it absolutely fascinating how your generation will dig into a company, like the background, and you really do your due diligence on a company. Back in my day, I'm going back years, it wasn't like that. We were like, is the salary right? Can I do the
Yeah.
job? Okay, let's go and do it. So, but I think you're right. It's really important that you're at a company that's the right fit for you. So absolutely. Chinny, same question.
Yeah, so for me, I can definitely answer this question from two different perspectives. I think the first one is how I landed this apprenticeship, and took a lot of persistence because people were like, don't apply for apprenticeships, they're too competitive. Just apply for university because it's safe. But I was very determined because this is definitely what I wanted to do. So I just had to like focus in on it because there were a lot of rejections. There was a lot of days of feeling like I'm never going to get into an apprenticeship. What am I doing? But I think the thing that really helped me was, like Cyber, having a strategy. And for me, I was learning a lot from past successful applicants. I was watching a lot of videos. There was a lot of forums online. I was like following everyone's seeing what they're saying, what they're doing. And I was learning from the applicants who were successful because I could see where they stumbled. I could see where what set them apart in the applications. And that was basically like my playbook. I called it because I had like a document and write things down of what is this company looking for? How can I stand out as an applicant? And I feel like that helped me a lot because I could just lean back on that and just feel confident that I had that, even though I didn't know what was going on in the test.
Yeah.
Um, and in my current role in Accenture, it was nothing like that because there was no like assessments or anything like that. It was purely based off like my relationship building skills, which when I first started, I was like, how am I going to network? Because I am so afraid, introverted, and like there's just so much going on that I don't know. But I feel what has really worked for me is just like connecting with people and like being present and engaging when I go to places. So I'm not just talking to people because I think, oh, this person's going to get me a job, or oh, if I talk to this MD or this senior manager, I can get from XYZ. But I'm just trying to learn from others, learn how I can help them, learn how I can improve myself. And I feel like that shows me that strategy is important, but showing up is what really matters. And yeah, that's what I would say.
I was actually going to ask you about that in terms of kind of building your network. So, I mean, how do you do that internally, and how do you, I suppose, establish those professional networks that you need?
Yeah, I feel something that I've learned is that building a network is really not just about connections. It's about building those relationships. And I would like to say, like, if you have a plant, you have to water it, you have to work with it and on it. And it's the same sort of thing. I feel like the same thing as what I was saying before with connecting with people, not just because you think I'm going to get this job, but you're just really trying to learn about different parts of the business. You're trying to learn about who that person is, what shapes their mind, what makes them do the things that they do. And you can really take a lot out of that. And I feel a network isn't just something that is built, it's something that you shape up yourself. And I feel for me, doing things that are impactful inside of my day-to-day job and outside of my day-to-day job has led to some of the most amazing experiences that I would have never even imagined, like winning a Tech Women 100 award, shout
Yeah.
out. And just really learning that it's not just about what you do, but it's how you do it and who you meet along the way. And if you want to have a successful network, you have to show up, you have to invest in it, and you have to do what you want others to do to you. And I believe that it will happen in that way.
Wonderful. I couldn't agree more. And also, the bigger your network, right, the more chance you have of changing the people within that network into other things like mentors and coaches. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So, Krusha, I'm going to come to you. What role has as mentoring played in terms of your own career development, and how did you go around finding mentors and peers that could support you?
So I think it's played a big part in my career development in the sense that you sometimes feel like this is just like a solo journey, but there's a lot of people that do help you along the way. And I feel like mentorship is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And the sort of mentors you have do vary. So, like I've mentioned before, like my mentors come from like my parents, for example, but also like my sister and like the peers around me. But then you have the mentors that come from more of the workplace that can provide you the support in that sort of sense and the opportunities that you may want. And I feel like having those mentors and just speaking to them about what it is that you want to do with like your career path, even if it's something that you don't even know, because let's be real, I don't know where I'm going to be in like the next 10 years. But like the smaller steps you take and just being more present and like talking to them about these things can really help, because then you're not just using your network, but you're utilizing other people's networks as well, and they might have opportunities that you might not have even heard of, but it might be something that you want to do. So a lot of the time it is just about talking to these people, and it is scary, especially like after COVID. I feel like I've become an introvert just sitting in my room, so it is scary just starting those conversations. But like Trini said, being present, going to the office, being proactive is a big part of building that sort of network from which you can get mentors, because mentors can come in all shapes, forms, and sizes. So it's not just like, oh, this person's going to be a mentor. They could come from anywhere.
Absolutely. I think it's really important because, you know, we can learn so much from others, you know, especially when it comes to honing our skills and things like that. But I want to come to you. What do you think was the most one valuable growth opportunity that you've encountered early in your career, and how did you maximize that?
I'd say attending events, like actually going in person to Accenture events, is really, really important. And I think when you're at these events, kind of being self-aware and trying to identify areas for growth always helps. So looking for opportunities to grow and expand things. And as a new person joining Accenture, you find that you spot things that people who've been here for, you know, Accenture for lifers probably wouldn't spot necessarily so quickly. So utilize that skill, that fresh pair of eyes. And I did that quite a lot when it came to Accenture's networks for DEI initiatives, particularly the talent recognition programs in the Northwest office. So we identified, me and Mafalda, who is my co-lead for Northwest Awards, we identified that we have strategy and consulting, then we've got tech, then we've got operations in the Northwest, and they all kind of felt a bit disjointed and no one really knew what each department was doing. So we came up with Northwest Awards, which was like anyone is open to nominate whoever they'd like, their peers, their colleagues, just for doing outstanding work in the Northwest. That would go to leadership, who would then read all these lovely things that everyone in the Northwest has been doing, whittle it down to like a short list, make it all exciting, come up with winners who then get a really nice dinner and some recognition points as well. So once we implemented that into the office, we found that it was so much easier and more fluid to talk to different departments and just know what everyone else was doing. And I think doing something like that and leading it gave me a lot of leadership and project management skills, but then also just gave me the confidence to say yes to more things. And I noticed that once you put your name down for something like that, your name ends up going to lots of different things and you get pulled into loads of other things. But that visibility really, really helps. So that one thing that I did there led to doing loads of other stuff for diversity and inclusion. And then sharing those achievements across different groups within the Accenture led to being nominated for a Rising Star Award for diversity, which I then won for We Are the City. So there's loads of little things, just like Cinny said, that just lead up to, you know, a great big thing at the end that you didn't expect the recognition for. But you don't do it for that at the beginning. You definitely do it because you see a gap in the market, I guess, and you just go for it and you take the opportunity.
I think it's so wonderful though, because doing things like that, you're contributing towards the culture of the organisation, which is such value add. And you're quite right. The moment you should be careful what you wish for, because the minute you put your name for something, and also if you go and deliver it well, you know, your name is always going to come up time and time again. But clearly you've done very well. So, Chinny, same question to you.
Yeah, it's very similar to Saiba's example. So I think for me, one of the most valuable opportunities that I've had is being able to do things like outside of my day-to-day job. And one of the notable mentions that I can say is we had like a work experience day for high school kids from basically underprivileged backgrounds, and we brought them into the office. We had simulated real work tasks and basically made them consider and just be visible in the office and seeing what it's like to work in tech space, like coming in and seeing what does a consultant do, which was good for me because I did not know what consultants do, what is Accenture, what is Song, which is like the creative side of things, what do they do in that, what is a tech, what does someone who works in software engineering do. And I think that shaped me maybe more than it shaped them, because I felt like just seeing that, I felt so like happy and warm, the fact that I'm able to do this in my job. I feel like so unheard of, and I don't know anywhere else that they do this, that there might be places, but it's something that really stands out for me is being able to do that, and it's led to me being like, okay, what else can we do? What more can we change, and how can we shape the next generation? Because I definitely would have wanted to have this experience had I, well, when I was in high school, just seeing coming to the office and seeing that these are just people as well. Like, everyone has one head, everyone is also human. And those opportunities of giving back has led to things like, funny enough, winning one of the Northwest Awards, which Saiba and Mafalda runs. And it was really good because we went to a nice restaurant. So thank you guys. And also reminding me that growth isn't just the way that you think necessarily it happens. So things like that, I never really expected myself to grow so much in certain areas like planning, because having a bunch of kids in the office is very chaotic, and having to coordinate their schedule was quite the learning curve for us, but it was just really good and something that I don't think I can ever replace, being able to do stuff like that. So for me, I would highlight that.
And you'll probably go on to do more of it because, once you've caught the passion for things like that, and we need to help those next generations. So obviously day to day, very, very busy, everyone's on their projects. So how do you stay focused on your long-term career goals while navigating all of the kind of day-to-day challenges of being early on in your careers? And I'm going to come to Saiba for that one.
So I think something that I've kind of developed over the last few months especially is this like mission versus maintenance mindset. So I'm fully aware that some tasks which are a bit mundane and boring are needed for like the day-to-day work, but then also just refocusing on the fact that I'm doing these things to push me towards my long-term career goal. I think that really helps when work gets a bit overwhelming. We do have stressful jobs, we do have big client works and projects that we're working on. So when it does get overwhelming, just revisiting that why really does keep you motivated on those tougher days. I think despite the job being busy and time consuming, it's really important to continuously engage with your mentors and your employee resource groups. For example, the Analyst consulting group, which I'm part of, as well as women's networks and strategy and consulting committees, they're all really important, and they keep you inspired and accountable for sort of navigating your own career path and goals. And something that Accenture really value and really put a lot of importance on is seeking advice from senior leaders who sort of navigate similar paths like to yours, and finding those mentors and keeping that relationship with them is really crucial for providing that first-hand experience to us and guidance throughout your career. I think that's really helped me navigate any of the challenges and also keep on top of like industry shifts, so that where your career can take you, even if you're not entirely sure what the end goal is, what the pathways are and how to get there.
I love that. I love the mission and maintenance description as well. That's a really good one. Krusha, what do you think?
So, I mean, my approach is slightly different in the sense that I do agree with like having that sort of mindset of like, that that's sort of the things you want to achieve and that's like what grounds you. Definitely does help. But honestly, like I've mentioned before, I'm not too sure what my long-term goals are. So I do take it a lot of the time step by step. But I do know like career advancement is like a big thing for me. And having those conversations with the right people, whether it's like your managers or like the leadership, just so you get their perspective of things and let others know that this is kind of like where you want to go with your career. And then getting the feedback, because that's one thing that I was told and that I had that stuck with me is that people can't read your minds. They don't know what you want to do. And so being vocal about it can definitely help put you in a position where you can be given those opportunities for growth. And then also, especially with the tech world and the way AI's come into in a storm and just caused this massive chaos in terms of jobs and the type of jobs that are being out there now. It's like just understanding where your current job lies within that, because I know right now I'm a software engineer, but who knows in like 5 years time what I'm doing could be automated and I have to look for the next step sort of thing. So that was a bit of a scary realization one day, but it's just like kind of grounding yourself and being like aware that careers do change and accepting that change is like you're not on this one path. There's going to be many branches off of it that you can take, and just realizing that it's not a scary thing to bring on that change, but accepting it and moving forward with that and adapting to that path that can come.
I think it's fascinating that you guys have already got that mindset of what I'm doing today may be automated tomorrow. It's a fantastic mindset to have, because often, you know, we talk about as we navigate different careers, it isn't so much, yeah, be good at your job, but it is the network that you're making on your way up so that you can shift around and take lateral moves and go up different ladders, you know. So it's really good that you have that mindset. So I'm going to finish off with one combined question to you all. Looking back, what is the one thing you wish you knew when you first started? And secondly, what advice would you give to anyone watching this around who are just starting their careers? What's the one kind of piece of advice that you would give to them in order to succeed? So I'm going to come to Ginny first.
Okay, it's very good questions. I think for me, one thing is failure. Don't avoid failure, accept it because it is actually part of the process. And I think a lot of times something that I'm scared to do, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to this, is taking risks because you're too afraid of, oh, what if this happened or what if that happens? But you need to focus on what is happening right now, not what could be.
Yeah.
And I think that stops you from taking a lot of opportunities because if I had said, oh, I couldn't do this, and I would have never been able to do that email passing task, and I would never have been empowered with the confidence that, yes, I can do something that's difficult. And I probably would have never been like, yeah, I can take this full stack developing role because I have no, even though I had no idea what Node.js was before I started this. I think every misstep that you take leads to a lot of something that it's invaluable. Like when you look back and think, yeah, I made that mistake, but I've learned X, Y, Z out of it. And being pushed out of my depth so much has just made me into something that I never really leaned into when I was a lot younger because no one told me you can make a mistake and it's okay. I kind of was always told that don't fail A levels because you have nothing to do. Don't fail GCSEs because you know, all that stuff had been in my head a lot. So I was very much like, I can't make any mistakes. But that's something that I think things like the Tim Ferriss show, if you know him, he's great and he has lots of people on there who are like successful professionals and leaders, and they talk about the failures that they had. And the thing that I've highlighted is with their failures and with the things that they've done that've gone wrong, they've learned from it, they've embraced it, they've used it to their advantage. And it just shows me that failure is not the opposite to success. It's actually the prerequisite of it. So don't be afraid to fail because you just never know what that will lead to.
I love that.
And I feel like that leads into like being patient with yourself and being kind because that's something that a lot of us don't have for ourselves. We have for other people, but I'm my worst critic. I'm so hard on myself, but it's something that I'm trying to learn to do because if I'm not patient with myself, then I won't allow myself to make those mistakes and ask questions and to look stupid, even though you never look stupid because people are more impressed at you for asking this question that they're all thinking, but nobody's able to ask it. So yeah, I think don't be afraid because progress is not a straight line. Every step matters. Like every mistake you make, every success, it all adds up. So keep going.
Fantastic. Thank you. Oh, brilliant advice there. Saiba?
I think something that I wish I knew at the start is definitely don't assume that good work speaks for itself, because on its own, in reality, like if you're the only person who knows that the good work that you're doing, it stands for very little when you're in a room of 100 other people who are also doing great work. So self-advocacy is key, and I've noticed that accelerating in your career, especially in a big company like Accenture, is definitely helped further by being proactive and showcasing your contributions to the company. That's much easier to do once you're part of the employee resource groups and involvement through mentoring or project leadership, but there's loads of ways you can do it at Accenture. It's literally the biggest platform probably someone at our starting point of a career could ever be given. So definitely make use of things like that. And also it's just not about working hard. It sounds horrible, but it isn't. It's about being intentional with your work, being visible, and then being adaptable. Like Cinny said, just saying yes to things. I think that's also sort of the advice I'd give to someone starting out is just be open to new experiences. And it's okay if the job or industry that you start in isn't the one where you end up in at the end, the one that you find the most enjoyable or the most practical. It's completely fine. Just focus on building those skills and relationships that will help navigate where your passions lie. And then a job which is fulfilling will automatically fit into your lifestyle at that point. So I think it's really important to just consider what you enjoy, what sort of people you want to be around and how those people can benefit you, not in like a selfish way, but just in a way that's like, how can I learn from these individuals and how can I pass on what I know? And yeah, I think that's super important, especially if you're considering a career change like I did, because similar to what Cinny said, it's you kind of do feel like you're making the wrong decision sometimes and you don't have the faith in yourself. But it's okay if your path looks a little different to someone else or a little bit slower. It's completely fine. Everyone catches up in the end. And as long as you're happier and healthier and have the right mindset going forward, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter whether it took you a little bit longer than somebody else.
Exactly. No comparison. It is the thief of joy, as we say. Krusha, finally, over to you.
So, I mean, I was kind of going to say the same thing about the comparison, but one thing that I wish I knew going into it was not to be afraid of change, because sometimes there's the change that you bring to yourself, but then there's change that's brought upon you, and just kind of accepting it and not being afraid, because I am very afraid of change. That's the one thing that I don't like doing. So if there is, for example, a role or a project you're on or something where you're not comfortable, that's not something that you want to go down, definitely explore it, because we never want to close any doors. But then if there is something that you're like, yeah, this is not quite right for me, speaking to the people and in your network and your mentors and bringing that change might be a better option for you. Even it could go any way, we don't know, but sometimes taking those steps can definitely help. And like Saiba said, it could be a different path that you're going onto, and it might be a slower one than your peers, but it's definitely maybe the right one, but we'll never know until we take those steps. And then the other sort of advice I'd give is knowing your self-worth, especially as females. There's like a lot of self-doubt that we give. And there's that whole stat about when you're applying for jobs that males tend to look at the requirements and they're like, oh, I only meet a few of these, but let's apply. But then females will like make sure they meet 110% of the requirements before they apply. So it's definitely knowing your self-worth, and whether it's like you're a female or even if you're a different sort of, like, I'm sometimes the only ethnic person in a room as well. So just bringing sure that your individualism counts as well, because that's the sort of diversity that then brings on changes, and it's what's needed in a workplace as well when you bring these solutions or like these ideas to the forefront. Because like I can use AI as an example where there's a lot of bias because there wasn't that many diverse groups of people that the data was tested on. So you are needed, and just knowing that and making sure that you are your own, as Saber said, self-advocate can definitely help.
Fantastic. Do you know something? I think I'm looking at 3 future CEOs here. I'm going to be watching you for the next 10 years and see where you go. There is so much knowledge in what you said, not just for your generation coming into work, but for people that have been in work for years. I honestly can't thank you enough. I think you're all fantastic. If you've enjoyed this session, you can go and find any of these ladies on LinkedIn and watch this space, because they are certainly going somewhere. Thank you so much to Saiba, to Cinny, and to Krusha for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.